Well, it's now Tuesday. From the perspective of the last video, this is now the next day. The amplifier will be here Wednesday. It shipped from New York, so it'll be here tomorrow. The first part of the equation got here today. So I got RCA splitter that's got male on both ends. So it'll come out of the SVS on this side, go into the amplifier on this side, left and right. Just so I'm making sure I'm getting signal to both channels. I really hope that output on the SVS is full range and not just a high pass. It just says line level out, it doesn't say there's any kind of restriction. And I would assume at least part of the intent is to daisy chain your subs, and not just have it insert between signal and towers or some sort of main speaker. So crossing fingers that that's full range, otherwise this isn't going to work. And then I would have to run RCAs up from the back or something. I also got the female bananas. So it's got a regular male banana on this end, and then this other end just got a female banana. So I can come out of the amplifier with these in the bridge spot, and then the speaker wires that I soldered or spliced in will just plug into these. This way I can just quick disconnect them. And this way it's easy to, move things around or whatever without having to unterminate anything. A little late to the party, but I also got some wire nuts. I'm not going to reopen the speakers and all that to permanently terminate them in there. The tape seems to be holding. So until it doesn't, I'm not going to worry about it. If at some point it fails, then I'll open them up and put on the nuts. But I figured this is something I should have anyway. You never know when you're going to need wire nuts. And it was a decent deal. So I think I have everything in place now to get the amp wired in tomorrow, at least at the front. I already have smart plugs. If I go that route, which I probably will. I do have another RCA splitter if I need to split the sub, say, on the other end. So we have options. Beyond that, it's kind of late. It's already almost 9 o'clock. I kind of slept in today. Got a break in our below freezing temperatures. It actually got some rain. So some of the ice and ice and snow broke up. So I did a little bit of shoveling outside. Did a couple of job things. Did a couple of finances things. So I think the rest of the time, until the wife comes home or I get bored and want to play Hearthstone or something, I'm going to work on the basement. Try to get some more Christmas stacked up in the corner where it belongs. Going to start working on that bench and filling in the compartments on that tray shelf. Just to kind of get some more room, get some bit of organization. I might also kind of reorganize this thing, because this gray Sterilite tote is kind of a cluster right now. It's kind of got just stuff scattered in there. It's got light bulbs and spare extension cords, and it's a little organized, but not as well as it could be. I have more boxes to throw away. We do trying to keep a bunch of empty boxes for Christmas packing, so we can repurpose things. But I have more than I need at this point. So I need to pare that down, just really decide what I want to keep and get rid of the rest. So that's what I'm going to do, just listen to some music and do some basement general organization and prep for the amplifier install tomorrow, which is where the majority of this video is going to go. But just this is an update for right now. That's probably it until I get the amp unboxed tomorrow. See you then. Well, it's here. Let's go ahead and get this puppy unpacked. Huh. It's actually double boxed. Color me surprised. This thing also weighs about 30 pounds, so it's not crap. At least it seems like it's not. Well, so far, the fans are on. You can barely hear it. Now granted, it's not under load or anything at the moment, but it's not making a lot of noise so far. The fans do seem to run when it's on, unless it takes a minute. to go into a shutdown mode with no signal. So I definitely probably am gonna have to put this on a smart outlet, just so I don't have to come back here and hunt for the power switch. Especially since it's in the the front and I'm putting the wires in the back. It fits pretty nicely on top of the subwoofer though. This is a wide subwoofer. Also the banana came off, so I gotta put that back on. I knew it was kind of not in there great. This is not the best wire. But yeah, we're making progress. Well, that's potentially a problem. Whether the Rockville's on or off, as soon as I connect the cable to it, I'm getting a 60 cycle hum through the SVS subwoofer. That's probably not good. Not sure where that would be coming from or why. And it's either channel, so I don't know if maybe this cable's bad, or if it's something with the amp. More investigation. Well, a different cable didn't work, and going through all this, splitting it before it goes into the SVS versus coming out of the SVS still doesn't make a difference. It still hums as soon as this other thing's connected. So I guess we'll leave it as is for the moment. Go back to the original setup where it just comes out of the SVS direct. But assuming this otherwise works, then I'm gonna have to come up here with an RCA and split it up at the amp end and hope that makes a difference. But it might not. The other thing is I might need to power this off a different circuit versus it going through the same power supply. It's going to be the same outlet, but maybe if it's not going through the same strip, that might be a different scenario. I'll have to test that. I guess I'll do that next, actually. Also, fun fact, them being connected to each other, without the end from the amp being connected, it's also fine. So, I don't know what that means, but it's a data point. Well, if it's not plugged in at all, power-wise, it's fine. But even if it's plugged into a different power source, so it's actually not even on the same circuit at this point because I have an extension cord being run, it's still doing it. So yeah, I'm not sure a long RCA really is going to solve the issue. Splitting it up at the amp end. Unless I split it with the other sub, because first off, I'm less worried about that sub having a hum versus this one, although that wouldn't be ideal either. But that may make a difference. I'm really not sure. I'm sure this is too dark to see, but so I'm turning it up and turning it up and trying to figure out why it's not working. Well, apparently I'm a dumbass and was turning up channel B instead of channel A, because I only have the one connected right now. Because I wasn't really getting much out of it, so I'm trying a few things. I was bridged, now I'm not bridged, just with the one channel. Actually bypassing the SVS right now. As you can hear, I'm still getting a hum just through that, just with the one cable going right to it. So the hum must be coming between the main amp and this amp. Not really sure why. Maybe it needs to be on the same circuit as that amplifier, which I can also test, but that's a little more challenging and not really. Well, I could do that permanently if I move this over there. But that's a whole other scenario. So yeah, let me go back to this. First thing I want to see if I could get enough output to even make this worth it before I worry about investigating the hum and all that. I'm starting to think this whole thing might not be worth it or might not work out. Not only am I not really satisfied with the output that I'm getting, honestly, I mean, it's full range, but I'm getting more output just having the Marantz drive, the bass drivers on those other speakers without any other headaches. When I do give it just the bass, even at max volume from the Rockville side of things, it already sounds like it's distorting, or potentially, like, I don't know, the driver's not really excurting all that much, but it's just giving some weird side effects, and it's just not doing very much. Whether, even when it's bridged to a single driver, not even trying to push both drivers, just having them bridged to the one sub, it's just not doing that much. But aside from all that, just found out I actually disconnected all the speakers from it for a minute, and then when I came back in here, just the RCA cable connected from the back amplifier into the Rockville with no speakers connected output wise. It's not going through any subs or anything. All my surround channels are buzzing, and the front ones probably are too, although it's hard to say. But at the very least, the two rear surrounds, the Atmos speakers, and the two side surrounds, which are two separate amplifiers, are also buzzing. Although the ones going through the 7055, the two side surrounds, are buzzing less. The ones going through the other amplifier. But either way, I can't have all my channels buzzing. This is a very clean setup. I don't have any audio noise normally until I connected this thing. So the only other thing I can really think of before I just call it and just go back to the way it was is I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the power conditioner that I have up at the rack, just to see if that sorts all this crap out. Because if it doesn't, it's going back. Whether it's a defective unit, I mean, it was used, this may be why it was sent back, or this is just an issue inherent to this particular amp. I mean, I guess you get what you pay for to some degree. You know, even not on sale, it's only 180 bucks. Not sure which of those is the likelihood. I'm not probably going to get another one, because I hate returning stuff, and I'm honestly not that worried about it if it's going to be this much of a headache. But yeah, even if it's not going to the front subs, first off, I'm questioning whether it even has enough power at this point to drive a butt kicker. And even if it did, if it's going to introduce buzz to the rest of my system, that's not something I can really deal with. So I'm going to route the power differently, try a few more things before I give up on it. But so far, not impressed. Oh, also, I found out that it was in the frequency limitation mode. It actually had the button pushed in for the low pass filter. When I unpushed it, the hum actually got worse. And then I tried it both bridged and unbridged. It's a little bit louder with it bridged, because double the amplifier, but it's still really bad even when it's not bridged. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely worse when it was in full range, which it should be if I'm feeding it LFE signal, because that's a limited signal anyway. So I'd rather have the 250 hertz limit that the LFE channel provides versus the 150 limit that the low pass filter on the amp provides, because it at least gets a little more to the speaker. But again, if this hum doesn't go away, it's all kind of a moot point, and the hum only has gotten worse so far. You know, I suppose the other part of this could be because it's RCA, although the RCA is fine to the sub, both subs actually. So I could see if it's an issue with XLR, but ultimately, if I'm going to be using it for a butt kicker of some type, that's going to get an LFE signal. There's no reason to pass stereo left and right to it, or any single channel. And all of my sub outs or RCA. And I'm not using an XLR for a sub out currently. Nor do I even have one that I could do that with, I don't think. So, even if it is an RCA problem, that doesn't really solve my long-term issue with it. And I don't know that it's worth hanging on to, even if the XLR and then speaker wires to the front solve my problem. I'm not going to keep these towers forever, probably. And on top of all that, I'm not happy with the power output. So, again, I'm kind of chasing my own tail here at the moment. So much for that. I have it plugged into the power conditioner, and it's not any different. Thought I actually had it for a minute, because I plugged it into the conditioner and I didn't hear anything. But then I realized I hadn't plugged the RCA cable back in. As soon as I did, the hum's back. I tried it just single RCA, without going through the splitter or anything like that, just straight in, channel A, channel B, both do it. The hum in the front speaker is worse with amplification. Yeah, I set it about halfway and you can barely hear it, but that's not going to give me any juice either. But regardless of how the knobs in the front are set, I'm still hearing it in all the surround channels and the height channels. So it's introducing too much noise. At least through RCA, which is like the main thing I care about right now as far as input. Could kind of see if it does it with XLR, but because, okay, if I do XLR pass through and it's clean, then I could run two stereo lines up here, two speaker lines rather, and just power the front subunits off of that. As the additional low end for the speaker. So we'd be talking like somewhere between 60 to 80 hertz on the low end and like 100 to 120 hertz on the high end. So that range between like 60 and 120 max for the two towers. And just let the LFE go to the two subs. But I don't know that that's really worth it. I can just have the Marantz powered at that point. It didn't seem to be hurting anything. The only downside to, well, either of those scenarios is it's getting full range to the bottom driver, which is the one thing I was trying to avoid. Now, okay, so I could put the low pass filter on the Rockville if I'm doing that, and then it would only be sending 150 hertz down to it, so it'd be like 60 to 150, whatever I set my crossover at, to the 150 point that the Rockville is doing. So that's an option. But is it really worth spinning the amp, disconnecting the XLRs? I don't even have a long enough pass through because I didn't order the 6-foot yet. So I don't even know that I could get it in line with the equipment I currently have. Although I guess at the very least I can just route the XLRs left and right into it and move the speaker wires into it and see if it has the power to run the front channels, for one, and to see if it has the hum. Again, just to kind of make sure it's working in any capacity, but I don't really want to power those speakers with that. And then I have, what, 2 amplifiers left in the other speaker amp, which I could buy amp or something, but again, why am I doing all this? Seems like the result isn't worth the effort. Let me sit here and think about it, see if I actually want to deal with confirming any of that right now, or if I want to just resolve myself to sending the thing back. Well, no one can say I'm not giving this my best effort. I forgot how heavy this damn rack is. Anyway, so the new amps on top, obviously, and then I think I'm just gonna try a couple of things, reroute some cables, see if anything works, and then see if that use case is worth bothering with. Alright, so progress update. I have, I guess technically the right, even though it's channel 1. So that's interesting. I'm thinking my left and my right might be reversed. But, because that seems weird. Because it's channel 1. But, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter what channel is what on the output. What matters is what's coming out of... Right. What matters is what comes out of the AVR. And... AVR, the first output, seems to be right. And I don't know if that's right. I would think that would be left. It's going to the first channel. So, I don't know. I guess as long as it comes out the left side or the right side, it doesn't really matter. Because it might be double reversed. I don't know. I need to look into that. But in any event, that would really screw up movies if it was reversed. Like having the right side come out of the left side and vice versa. I don't know. Anyway, so using the XLR through the 1 amp, it's fine. There's no hum. And I have it at 0 dB, which is its max, which makes sense. And it seems pretty loud. Seems like it's about the same as going through the other amp, which it should be. It should be at max gain, and the AVR should be controlling the output. Might be a little higher, it's hard to tell. So at least the XLRs are good. And, you know, a shorter power cable at this point, so I need to double check the RCAs too while I'm over there. But this is as far as I've gotten so far. Also, surprisingly and interestingly enough, a lot goes on at 150 hertz and below. Because first I had it running full range and it was fine. It sounded like it should. But then if I turned off everything else, so I have all the surrounds off, I have both subwoofers off. So this is only the right hand side channel, or left, I'm not sure. And it's 150 hertz and below, and the amp is still in stereo. So in theory, this is only 150 down to like 80, I think is where the crossover is currently set to. And this is what you get. There's a surprisingly amount of material in here. Again, this is just 150 hertz and below. Now, it's a crossover, so, you know, there's probably a little bit over 150. But yeah, there's still a lot of vocals and stuff down there. I could see why you wouldn't want to have a subwoofer go that high on a left and right channel. Interesting. Let me throw it into direct so it gets full range. Still 150 and below cutoff by the Rockville, but I want it to go below the 80 hertz crossover since those are off currently. Doesn't really see any different. I mean, but this time probably doesn't have much below 80 anyway. It almost sounds muddy, but that just might be the nature of what I'm doing. Let me find something a little bassier. Oh, that should work. Oops. Try the swipe and yeah, swipe the wrong direction. This is -6 on the AVR. Go up to -5 because that's kind of where music has been happy. Not bad, not bad. A little pathetic, but not bad. I guess what do you want from a single 10? Let's go back on the stereo, so the 110 or 80 hertz crossover is back. See what we lose. Honestly, not much, if anything. I'm sure there's something, but now, granted, it's louder because reasons. Odyssey, and I think I have tone control on right now. Yeah, I do. But anyway, so the amp's not a total piece of junk. Let me see if XLR or RCA works any differently over there versus where it was over here. I don't expect it to. I expect the hum to come back, but we'll see. Well, I'm at the limit. I'm not sure which limit, but I bridged it just to kind of see what'll happen, and it gets a little louder, not substantially, but before I even get close to -5, about anything over above about -10, so -9, -8. It does get louder, but I start getting distortion pops. Probably from the sub driver, hopefully not from the mid-range. Kind of hard to tell. So I don't know if we're hitting a limitation of the speaker's power handling capability. I don't know its impedance, so I might be hitting 8 ohms, which is only going to give me like half the power anyway. So again, bridged into both drivers, it might be a little happier because it's going to suck up some more power. Either that, or I could do the original plan and then just run stereo. This way I know for sure it's not going to overload it, because I had it at max and it was fine. A listening level higher than what I would normally do for a movie. But that means 2 more speaker runs. Whereas if I do a bridge, I can do 1 speaker run and then split it up there. But it's not like I have enough cabling either way, so I would need to buy another spool of probably about 100 foot just to do both runs. At that point, might as well. I'm gonna get 1 spool of 50. I could, but probably wouldn't be that different expense wise anyway. So there's that. And then if I do the XLR, it would have to be left right, because again, I'm not using sub XLR out. And then so it would make sense to do 2 runs and actually run the left and right independently. Again, you know, for 2 channel, and or just to have the left and right bass go to the left and right speaker above 80 hertz or whatever. But again, I'm gonna go ahead and see if the RCA works, because that does open up my potential options a little bit as far as configuration. See if the XLR is any, or the RCA is any different over here. Again, I don't see any reason why it should be or would be. So but yeah, we'll see what happens. Well, that addresses that question. For whatever reason, the leftmost XLR out is the right channel. So they got the fronts grouped together and the center and then the surrounds grouped together. But yeah, for some reason they have the rights on the left and the lefts on the rights. So it is wired up correctly. So it does have RCA subwoofer outs, but again, neither of my subwoofers have XLR in. So if I do that to the amp, I would lose one of my RCA outs, since at least so far It doesn't seem like they're both simultaneously active. Still working on that, because they're supposed to be from what I read online. But I have an RCA coming out of the, what should be, I think front right, going up to the thing, and I'm not getting any hum, but I'm also not getting any audio. But I also don't know that I turned the gain knob back up, because I keep turning it down just to make sure I don't pop anything. So yeah, let me double check that it is in the right, and let me double check that it is actually have the gain up before I go in here and start messing with the ampersand. Alright, so yes, it is wired up correctly as far as I can tell. More or less. More on that in a second. Yes, I did check the gain, but I did put it back down. But either way, I'm not getting any signal to the amp because the light's not blinking. So it looks like the RCA is not active unless I go through the ampersand and probably reroute it from XLR to RCA. That's my next thing. I did still have the speaker wired up to bridged, so I fixed that, but that was not going to prevent signal getting to the amp. That would still not give me audio. So that's hooked up correctly now. Now I just got to go through the speaker adjust setup and route the right channel to RCA and see if I get any audio. And if the hum comes back with it. Well, that's interesting. I'm getting the teeny tiniest audio out of my surround left and surround right, even though it's in stereo mode. A little bit of channel bleed? It shouldn't do that. Very curious. It's almost imperceptible, but it's definitely there. That is odd. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Well, after a series of errors, I can confirm a few things. First off, it helps if you plug the cable into the left or right out, not the right cable satellite in. What can I tell you? There's a lot of connectors back there. I can't really see them that well, and they're hard to get to. So yeah, once I moved it to the front right, it did work. They're not kidding. It's definitely about 6 to 10 dB quieter than the XLRs, but it did come out. The hum came back, both in the channel that was playing and in the rear surrounds once I turned that amplifier back on. So it's not even the same piece of equipment. It's affecting the audio signal. Because, again, I mean, the amplifier for the rears is totally different than the amplifier for the fronts or the surround processor, so it's obviously carrying through the signal somewhere. Also, I thought that I had confirmed that it does only do RCA or XLR at one time, because I reconnected the XLR and it didn't work. Went back through the setup, set it up to be XLR again, still wasn't working. Double checked it, and I had connected it to channel B instead of channel A on the Rockville, and back to the battery issues. Starting to wonder if these batteries are actually worth it. But I only have 2 regular GoPro batteries. They're getting old, and I didn't really want to buy more official ones. They're getting kind of hard to find for this camera. It's a Hero 8. It's a little old on the older side. It's like 3 years old when I bought it, and it was not exactly new then. I was out for at least a year or two. Anyway, so yep, once I reconnected it to channel A, it worked. And then without changing any settings, I unplugged it, reconnected the RCA, and it still worked. So yes, the processor does output XLR and RCA at the same time on every channel, regardless of which one you pick during the setup process. That's just to help, I guess, you guide where to plug it in if you don't know. But with the hum being back, I still can't come out of the amp RCA left and right to come up here to the amplifier, because I'm still going to have the hum. So the only scenario that's going to work is the amp being in the back, XLR pass-through, which I still need to double check that works, but it should. and then have speaker runs, 2 of them, come from the back, 2 up here, to power the left and the right as a stereo sub pair for the higher subwoofer frequencies. So, 60 to 100 hertz, whatever those towers are missing prior to whatever I set my crossover to. So that's a fairly limited use case. It is the main one I was looking for, but A, is that worth $133 versus just powering them passively? Well, not passively, powering with the Marantz amp like I am now. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'm going to email them and say, hey, the RCAs on this thing suck. What do you want to do about it? Maybe they'll either let me keep it for free, or maybe they'll knock some money off of it. If I can get it down a little bit, that may sway my decision. But if I do go butt kicker at some point, like I intend, I don't think this is the amp that's going to do it. I'm going to have to do some other amp. Because this thing just doesn't seem to have enough power. And again, that's going to be probably RCA with this pre-pro. Because again, I don't want to lose independent control of my front and back subs. Which, the only way to do that would be to, as I was saying, the only way to do that would be to have one RCA tee off to the front and the back and have the other sub out be XLR into the amp. Doesn't seem worth it. I'd rather have independent control for... I give up. I'm swapping the battery even though it still says 29%. I should start marking them, seeing if it's 1 or 2 or 3 specific batteries versus all of them. Anyway, I'd rather have independent subwoofer control for delay and phase and whatever than use one of them to power a butt kicker with this particular amplifier. I'd rather get a different amp whenever I do that down the road. So yeah, if they'll let me keep it with a deeper discount than what they've already given me, then I guess we're keeping it up on the rack, doing XLR daisy chain, running 2 more speaker runs up here, to do left and right, mid bass, between like somewhere in the 60 to 80 range up to about like 100, 120, 150, somewhere in there. Because that's the only thing that makes any sense. And that works reliably. So again, the question is that worth it versus just leaving it the way that it was? That does give more power to the highs and mids, because I don't have a 10-inch woofer draining it, and it's basically essentially doing a bi-amp. I could even set it up specifically as a bi-amp. Just have the Marantz power the high and have this one power the low. But I probably won't do that because I don't know where the crossover in the speaker is as far as the high and the low. It might not matter, because basically there's only 2 wires going up there from the amplifier plate. So I assume if they're not bridged at the back, they must both be connected to both sets of binding posts for it to receive signal from both. But then why would it need to be bridged? Because then it would just route it regardless. I don't think it's like, I think it's positive and negative, not high and low with the cabling. Maybe if it's not bridged, it wouldn't accept signal from both? I don't really know. I guess I could remove the bridge and plug it in to the top versus the bottom and see which drivers work and which ones don't. But I'd probably keep them in place. Just power it full range from the one amplifier the way that it was, and just have a secondary stream going into just the woofers that's just amplified separately. It's probably the best way to go about it. But if they don't knock any money off, I don't know that I want to keep it. So I guess there's still two advantages either way. Advantage one is it does relieve some strain off of the main processor, so more of that wattage is available for the tweeter and the woofer. Whether it needs all the wattage is another question. It didn't seem to be hurting any with the woofer connected. But two, that is the only way that I can think of that's going to allow me to put a high-pass filter on what goes into those woofers. Otherwise it's going to be getting full signal, and I really don't like, 200, 300 hertz going into there, let alone above that. Again, I don't know if it's necessarily hurting or anything or sounding poor, but it doesn't need to be getting that signal. So if I could cut that off, and 150 seems like a good cutoff with that high pass on the amp, that seems like a worthwhile investment. Again, not 133, maybe 75, maybe 100. I don't know. It's already been returned once, obviously, so they may not want it back again. So I guess I need to email them and see what they say, and then I'll make a decision from there. If they're gonna not give me any kind of deal, I might just send it back and not even worry about it. I don't know. Let me go ahead and wire everything back up the way it's supposed to be. The other kind of reason I would want some kind of discount is I'm going to have to purchase another XLR cable. Because I had a set of, I think it came with a set of 6. I was using 5, so I only had 1 free. And they're also kind of on the short side for where I want to put this in the rack ultimately. So I would just probably want 2 6-foot ones. And then I'm going to have to get, so I need to buy the XLR cables, and I need to buy the speaker cable, which was not something I necessarily wanted or needed to do if this had just worked RCA like I had originally intended. So maybe they can at least cover the cost on that. I'll keep you posted. Alright, so I have it basically hooked back up the way it's supposed to be. XLR is going back to the free front speakers. Haven't moved the amp or anything yet. I do have the daisy chain in place, at least on the one side, because I did have the one cable, and it sounds fine. I'm not losing any audio. It does seem to pass through whether the amp is on or not, whether it's plugged in or not, which is good, because I am still getting a ever so slight hum on the surround channels, not on the front channels. Seems to only be on the RCA. No, that's a lie, because the left and right are doing it too. The left and right surrounds. I thought I was just doing it on the RCA chain of things, which would be the heights and the rears. But that would mean the side surround should be fine, and they're not. And I confirmed it's that other amplifier, because when I unplug it, the hum goes away completely. But it's really, really, really tiny. I can barely hear it. Won't hear it at all with content. But it is there, and it's also probably not great for the system. But if I put the thing on a smart outlet, then I can kind of control when those subs are active or not, and if it's not plugged in, because the smart outlet is off, the hum should go away, everything should be fine. But again, it's a matter of whether they're going to make it worth my while or not. I'm not sure when it changed, but I just went through all the speaker settings to double check everything, especially since I went through the setup wizard a couple times. And there was a low pass filter set on the LFE bass section of the amp. It was set to like 150 or 180 or something. So I put back that up to the 250 max that it's supposed to be at. Again, not sure what that was about. SVS came alive a little bit, so I don't know if that was maybe affecting something. Again, I don't know when it changed. But, so yeah, that's the adventure with this thing. Let me go ahead and shoot off an email and see what they say. Because I'm not super happy with it. And honestly, you know, right now the front woofers are being powered through the Marantz 7055, I think. And it's fine. You know, it's loud, it's thumpy. It's everything I was looking for, and it doesn't seem to be hurting the other channels. It's just a matter of whether it's skewing my frequency response because of extra output. But EQ should be able to fix that. You know, if we're getting the bump in the 160 to 500 or 800 or 1000 hertz or whatever because of the double output with the two, now the mid bass and the sub bass drivers, the EQ should be able to tamp that down and blend between the two. So it shouldn't really matter. And like I said, you know, I was hearing vocals and stuff down there, but apparently that's all, like, you know, low vocals is 150 hertz anyway. So they're kind of supposed to be there, especially as a left and right tower kind of situation. So yeah, that's my story. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that up a little bit and then shoot them an email and see if they're willing to work with me, because otherwise I'll just send it back and get my money back. I'm not in love with the hum, but it's okay. It's at least acceptable. The other hum, when it was plugged through the SVS or had RCA connected, was not usable. It's too bad. It's so quiet without it. I can't go back there. So, yeah, let's see what they do, and then I'll let you know. You know, it's kind of funny. For all its expense and its complexity, sometimes I just rather prefer listening to music upstairs at my desk with my little Corsair? Not Corsair. Yeah, Corsair speaker system. I think it's Corsair. You know, just maybe because the room's small and it's near field and it's got an 8-inch sub right in front of me, right under the desk. It gets things shaken and it feels good, and it's got really crisp highs and good mids because it's bi-amped. I think each satellite is dual 60 watt, I want to say. It's been a while. It's the same speaker system Linus has. I had it first, though. Oh, actually, I don't know. I had it before I knew he had it. You know, down here, yeah, it gets loud, and it's great with the lasers, and movies are awesome and all that, but just maybe the room's too big, too open, too many variables. You don't get, even with, like, all these subwoofers, you know, I get a little bit of thump on the couch, and I could hear things rattle if I turn it up enough. But, like, considering how loud it is, I don't get that tactile oomph that I just get being upstairs, which almost makes me think something's wrong, but, I mean, I've looked at everything. It should be fine. Odyssey should smooth things out. And like I said, there are movies that was fine. Oppenheimer was great. It's just, I don't know, the music's not as personal down here. Maybe that's it. But yeah, whether it's in stereo or surround or multi-channel stereo, just doesn't ever quite sound as good as it does on my desk. Weird, right? I don't know. Just kind of sometimes makes you wonder if it's all worth it, and the whole diminishing returns thing. But yeah, this is down here for primarily movies, not so much music. And yeah, sometimes I get really into it and it sounds great. You know, when the door is shut and the curtains are closed. Right now, it's not. Neither of those things. So that may be part of it too. Next house, when I have a dedicated theater, hopefully, I can kind of address some of the concerns and issues. But for now, this is what we got. And I'm pretty happy with it. I don't mean to shit all over it or anything, but it's funny. Sometimes a $300 speaker system, I think that's what they were, 2 something, It gives you just as much, if not more, enjoyment than however many thousands this is. Anyway, that'll be it until I hear back from whoever sold me this thing. It wasn't Amazon. It was on Amazon, but it was a third-party reseller, Audio Advice or something. Audio something or other, I don't know. It wasn't a big chain. It was some little store. So, crossing fingers, they're willing to do something with me, because I really hate returning stuff. And I'm really going to have to fight with my morals if I want to keep this for the price I paid. Still better than $179. Don't get me wrong, but definitely a disappointing piece of hardware. Alright, it's the next day. So the initial email has come back from the company that sold me the amp. And they said they could potentially give me some sort of discount, though they haven't elaborated what yet. They were just asking if I would be willing to supply a video of the hum. Well, we've kind of already got that, so that should be easy. Or they could do a return for refund or a return for replacement. So I said, well, a replacement is the best option. But I asked if they'd be willing to, like, kind of pre-test it, if they even have the ability. Because I don't want to get a different one. And they said it would probably be new versus a refurb. So that would be helpful. But again, I didn't want to, like, say, well, you know, what if I have the same issue? And, you know, it could just be something inherently weak with these units. So I haven't received the response to that yet. I started pricing what it would cost to run 2 more speaker lines up here. 100-foot spool of cable, because each of these runs is about 50 foot, give or take. Plus the extra banana plugs I would need, plus the extra RCA cables. It was like $90. But I had a thought. You know, I kind of confirmed yesterday that the processor does output RCA and XLR at the same time. And I kept talking yesterday, like if I plugged in an XLR to the subwoofer out, that I would lose one of the RCA subwoofer outs. That might not necessarily be the case. So I verified that it outputs at the same time to the RCA for like the left and right channels. It should be the same for the subwoofer. I did not try to see what would happen if I'm outputting them at the same time, like actually having both actively connected. But assuming that works, maybe I could just come out of the subwoofer 1 into the XLR of the amp without disconnecting the RCA, and then I could just have the amp up here again, and all I would need is a single like 50-foot XLR cable, and those are like $26. So I'm gonna experiment with that today and see if I can run the RCA and XLR at the same time, outputting to 2 different things, and make sure that there's no hum and all that. Because if that's the case, that's probably what we'll end up doing. And then I could also have the XLR long-term go to this Rockville amp to see if it's enough for the butt kicker. And if it's not, then I can always get another amp later. But it'd be kind of nice if, you know, if as long as the RCA side works, I'm not that worried about the RCA. I think I said that right. If as long as the XLR works, I'm not that worried about the RCA. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Well, that just solved all my problems. So yes, it is outputting to the SVS via RCA on subwoofer 1, while simultaneously outputting XLR to the Rockville on subwoofer 1. Didn't seem to be dropping the SVS any. Even if it drops the current a little bit, and I'm not sure that it would or wouldn't, I can account for that because the SVS has a whole bunch of headroom right now. But it's not an amplified channel. It's just output because it's not one of the amplifiers. So yeah, so the SVS is doing its thing. The right channel right now is just getting the speaker wire that's coming up here, usually for the right hand side. It's coming out of the Rockville right now. So it's only getting the LFE subwoofer signal from the amp into it at the moment. And I actually had to turn the gain down to about 75% because I was actually hitting the peak meter and the woofer was popping a little. So it's, like I said, about 75, maybe a little less, 73%. It's definitely giving me subwoofer output now. I haven't heard that thing come that alive in forever. Even powering it with the just the Marantz through the loopy binding post like I've been doing. This is like practically twice as loud as that. So of course I need to dial it in. So yeah, it's working. There's no hum, as far as I can tell, or at least extremely slight hum. Let's see. Yeah, the itty bitty slight hum is still there, but nothing like it was. I can't actually hear it unless I can put my ear right up to the speaker. And I don't think the Rockville right now is going through the power conditioner. I think it's just plugged into the UPS. So that actually may clean up a smidge when I go through the conditioner, although it didn't before. So yeah, anyway, I can move the amp back up here. Just get a single 50-foot RCA cable, which, like I said, is pretty damn cheap. And then that should be that. So as long as they're rolling and knock like 30 bucks off for me, give or take, hey, then this should be fine. I'm also a little more confident now that it might be able to power a butt kicker. At least I have the ability to double up the LFE with the RCA and the XLR, which was my main concern. No, I'm not talking about it driving both. This is when the towers transition, then I get the ultra pinnacles. Then this amp won't have anything to drive, and I could probably route it speaker to the LFE for the butt kicker. So yeah, I think I'm happy. I do think I want to go ahead and play around with those binding posts on the back of the speaker a little bit, because I want to figure out exactly how the bridge works and how the high and low works. I still don't think I'm going to do it stereo up here, because it's a lot of speaker wire, and the speaker wire was most of that $90. It was like 50-60 bucks for a spool of 100 for the same price I already have, of the same wiring I already have. And even the Amazon stuff wasn't really that much cheaper. It was like $5 or $6 cheaper. It wasn't substantial for the 100-foot. So yeah, I think we're good. Ignore the graphs. This is just from the last time the laptop was open. It's really got nothing to do with what we're talking about now. That's kind of the other thing I found out, is the laptop going HDMI out gives me a hell of a lot more output than the phone via Bluetooth through the HEOS board. Because on this it's like -10, -11, and it's as loud or louder than the Bluetooth through the phone yesterday was at like -5, -4. So interesting to note. Better amplifiers and stuff, I guess. Better connection. You know, the Bluetooth on the phone could also be part of it. There could be a volume limiter involved. Who knows? Any number of things. But yeah, no, I think the sample work. It's definitely got the power when it's fed the right signal. I think that was part of it too. It just wasn't getting enough signal. Feeding it XLR also does, like I said, on the Marantz, they said I think the XLR is about 8 dB louder than the RCA outs. So I think it needs more input than I was giving it. And I could only turn it up so much without affecting the other drivers and speakers that are connected to it. So I still won't have independent control of the front 3 subs, which is going to make it a little difficult to dial in, because I don't want the side woofers to give me so much more output that I have to turn the gain down so much in Odyssey to get it took measure. But I suppose I can compensate for that, just get it where it wants, and then bump up the SVS after the fact, since I know kind of where it needs to be now. But yeah, it's a kind of a wall of bass up there. Now, this is only the right-hand side. Well, okay, so right now we got the SVS doing its thing. We have the right-hand side doing the Rockville thing, and we have the left-hand side doing the daisy chain of the speaker wire, so it's getting full signal from the other amplifier. I won't be able to do like a full test until I get the XLR cable ordered, which I'm probably going to go ahead and do right now because I'm very happy with the results. Once I do a little more screwing around. But yeah, no, I think we're good. They give me a little bit of money, I get that XLR cable, and we should be good to go. I think we're on the trajectory of keeping it now. Alright, I had to double check to make sure the thing wasn't still in bridged mode, because the output's just so much more ridiculous now. And it wasn't, it was definitely in stereo. Go XLR. Anyway, so also in the interim, I disconnected the bridges on the left tower because I was kind of curious how those binding posts like legit work. So if I plug the wire from the amplifier into the high that comes out of the front, if I plug them into the low, I get zip, because I mean that would have probably went to the amp, which is not plugged in because that speaker is coming outside now. So it looks like the speaker wires that are in there going to the drivers up top are just a pass through from the high. There's no processing in there. The upper crossover, because there is a separate crossover for the mid-range, the tweeter, and the woofer at the top of the tower, that must be filtering everything below like 110 hertz out. So the only reason you would even have those bridged is so you can run one pair of speaker wires to it, and then it'll feed the same signal into the woofers at the bottom. If you're bi-amping it, the tops get their own power and the bottom gets their own power. There actually isn't a blend like I thought there was. So that's interesting. So yeah, that takes care of that question. So I'm going to put them back in just so I don't lose them or nothing. But yeah, all the processing is done at the top, so it's just the amp going to the high end is all I need. I don't even really need to feed anything to the bottom end because that's not doing anything in that tower anymore, since those wires are coming outside. But the only thing I could do is I could wire it into the bottom and then not have them bridged, and then just have the cord coming in from the front. If I did like a left and right kind of deal, if I had speaker wires coming up here, then I could just plug them into the speaker to power the woofer. But that's ultimately not what we're going to be doing anyway. I'm going to just move the amp back up here, the Rockville, put it back on top of the SVS, and then just have the two speakers come over. I'm probably still going to do... Well, no, maybe not. I have to decide. I might either just split it up here. How do I do that? I don't think... there's really no way to do XLR into both channel A and B from the amp, unless XLR splitters are a thing, which they might be. But I'm probably just going to run XLR into channel A, put it in bridge mode, and then drop the power even more. I had just the bass going because I had the left side disconnected because I was playing with the binding posts. And I realized just how much more bass was coming out of the tower versus the SVS. So I've actually knocked that gain level down to like 55, maybe 60% at this point. And they're pretty close. I'd have to actually get some measurements and calibrate to get it dialed in even further. But yeah, and that's, like I said, stereo. If I put it in bridge mode, even running two drivers, I might be at closer to like 35-40%, if not less. So I think that's ultimately the plan. We'll leave the front towers bridged, have the wires come in just like they were. It's not going to affect anything or matter. Yeah, I wouldn't think that would give me any less output. And then we'll run one RCA up here into channel A of the Rockville, put it in bridged mode, use those banana splitters that I have, and then just connect the two subdrivers in with the existing bananas they're already set up with. And that should call it a day. Just need to put that amp on a smart plug, just so I can get rid of this hum when I don't care about those woofers. And so I don't have to turn another switch on when I go over there. Although at least it's in the front, so that'll be helpful. I kind of have to go over there to turn the other ones on anyway, so it's really the difference. Trying to think if there's any way I could really set this up now as a proof of concept, but I don't have a long XLR, so I really can't. And I could do it with long speaker wires, but I don't really have those either. So yeah, I guess we're at a standstill till I order that RCA cable. But I think we are good. I'll just send them another email, edit a small video of the hum to them, see what kind of discount they'll give me, and then go from there. Well, this is part of why audio sounds so much better up here than downstairs. And to be fair, on my laptop versus my phone. Octamax is a plugin for Winamp that basically gives you a 5-band parametric EQ, or that may not be the right frame for it, but basically it's a compressor and gate. So it basically analyzes the signal that comes in, cuts it down, puts a 5-band amp on it, 5-band frequency response curve, whatever, and then boosts it to the same level. So all the MP3s play at the same volume regardless of how they're recorded. There's no transitions from loud to soft. It's always at the peak of the audio signal without distorting. So you just get a louder, more consistent signal to feed into your equipment. And I run this on my laptop as well, because when I was just doing stuff down there now, compared to yesterday, it sounded great. You know, so it's just, yeah, the combination of the phone plus going through Hios. But you know, Hios is apparently fine for like high quality audio and whatever, but at least Bluetooth of the phone, the signal integrity is not really there as far as volume levels. So maybe this whole thing's a bad idea, because I just got a text from the neighbor asking me to turn it down. As soon as I think it starts sounding good, he starts complaining. So I get it, you know, he's a work-at-home guy. Apparently he's in, his office is kind of above the theater on the other side. Granted, it's 2 floors up. But, yeah, so I need to get some isolation feet for the dual 10. That should hopefully help that out. I think that's where a lot of it's coming from. And then the one closer to the wall is the one I was testing as far as the front towers. And like I said, I had to lower that quite a bit to get it kind of in line. It's got lots of capability. So maybe, I mean, right now they're just on like plastic feet. Maybe if I put them on some rubber feet too, that may help. Question mark. Apparently he's pretty good about letting it go, so I'm not really sure where the line is. You know, here I am thinking no one's saying anything, so I'm probably good. But if they can hear it, they're just not saying anything until it gets really bad. That puts me in an awkward place to not really know how loud is okay, you know? Because like I said, these walls block treble really good. I never hear any kids or dogs or anything like that, really. I can hear like car doors and things like that through the windows, but as far as like people's TVs, never really hear any of that. It's primarily the low end. And like I said, he doesn't usually complain with just the PB3000, and that's the only thing on isolation feet currently. And that's been the main thing I've been running. So if I get isolation feet for the other guys, then hopefully I can go louder without it being a problem. More air pressure, less sound waves transducing through the floors. I don't know, we'll see. I'm still gonna get the XLR cable because even at a lower volume, I would like to get all of the subs working, just to smooth out the response as much as possible and get some signal at the front. But nice to have like a little wall of bass going on at the front there. And then I really do think I need to get some kind of butt kicker so I can get that sensation that I want without high volumes to keep me and the neighbors on good terms. So that's my story. I think that's where we're going to go ahead and end this one. Unless I hear back before I edit it and uploaded it with what the company is going to do as far as a discount on the Rockville amp. So I guess we'll hold off for a little bit, just to kind of see if I can finish this video off with the information from that. I'll keep you posted. Working on the hum video to get some hopefully money off of this amp, and I'm sitting here thinking, should I even get the SVS Ultra Evolution speakers? Am I just asking for trouble? You know, spend $7,500 plus on speakers I can't even really utilize? Probably not the smartest move. Now, in theory, we're not going to live here forever. Oh god, I really don't want to move. There's just so much stuff we've already done at this place, and moving is a challenge. Also, kind of got to split up the move last time, because we had stuff in storage in Florida, we had stuff at my parents' house, we had stuff at her place, and it kind of got moved in stages. Now, all of our stuff is together at one time, not to mention all the stuff we've bought since being here. So yeah, moving is not going to be a fun challenge. Oh, also by the way, Corsair speakers. So I was right there, Corsair. They were the, Corsair 2500, I think? Kind of a premium line that they did, like, well, back in the day. Not for very long. Also, a Luna. So that is one of the Christmas presents I got. But yeah, so just gonna edit this real fast just so that you have proof of its issues. But it's already gonna be more bass than I can really utilize down there. It already is, even before this. So I'm really wondering if those towers are something I should even worry about now. Well, now, like in the next 3 to 5 years. Or if that's just going to be a once I move kind of upgrade situation. Because I just don't know that I can really use them here to their potential. And the towers I got, especially with this upgrade I'm doing, are more than sufficient. Makes me sad to think about that I can't get them, but it is saving me a buttload of money in the end. Alright, so it's the next morning. They got back to me. The verdict is $30 off, so that brings the amp down to like $105, which seems reasonable enough. He also tried to get me a free cable, a free 50-foot XLR, but they didn't go for that one, so that's fine. At least he tried. So I went ahead and ordered that. That should be here tomorrow. And then I also ordered a 4-pack of some generic sound isolation silicone feet for the one subwoofer. Sorry SVS, I like you guys, but I'd rather spend $25 versus $49 right now. Those will be here on Sunday, which is fine because the wife's home today anyway, so not like I can really go down there and do much. So yeah, that'll finish off that project. Hopefully that'll make some of the bass disappear for the neighbor, and then it'll let me get both my towers back better than ever. I think I am going to test those same feet that I get on the towers. If they work and they're stable, then I'll probably go ahead and get 2 more packs just to kind of help a little bit more, see if it actually does anything or not. I figure it can't hurt anyway. And like I said, they are facing away from the wall now, which also should help, at least in theory. I could also try to do some more sound treatment on that wall, but honestly they're bass waves, so without doing super thick foam or something, nothing I have is really going to make much of an impact. But I think that'll finish off this one. It's basically a complete story at this point, and it's getting kind of long as it is, so that's that. Maybe we'll do some demos or something after the fact, once I get everything set up and wired in. But for now, we had some success in the end, despite some challenges getting here. And I think it's going to work out pretty good, as long as I can actually use them without the neighbor always having too much bass in his house. Oh well. See you in the next one.